Hi, everyone. Of course, if you don't know my name by now, then we got problems. So hi, everybody. I hope all is well. Thank you for showing up for the Wealth Building Plan meeting. We have a lot that we need to cover today. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is, did you guys see that I just got an email about the whole debt, US not being able to meet its debt by June 1. And did anybody see that? And what are you thinking based on what you're hearing?
I think they're going to probably meet their debt if they can get their act together. The problem is there's a group of people who are not really sure that it's so very urgent. They figure it's being exaggerated. In other words, they haven't paid any attention. But it can be very disruptive to the United States, to the stock market, and to the world if we don't pay our bills. These are things that were already approved previously. That's why it's in the debt ceiling. My understanding also is that we do have funds coming in, like from taxes and stuff, so we can continue to pay things for at least a while, but it can provide us problems. I didn't see any specific email that you received. There's a lot of chatter and newsletters talking about all this stuff. So I don't know what the particular issue was in the email that you received, Barry.
The email that I received, and I'll post what we found out about the research, but the email that I received was a client wanted us to file their tax returns today. And they said because of everything that's going on and that the US not being able to make its payments, they want to file their returns today because they want to get their money back. So of course, I started researching to find out all that is going on. I've posted the research that we found out here and all that is going on. So I just wanted to talk to you guys about it because I got it today. I mean, I understand their concern where they're like, oh, if I don't file my taxes and they're not able to meet their debt, maybe they can give me my refund. But I would not necessarily extend it. I would not necessarily go that far, because even if you were to file a tax return today, it still takes about 3 weeks to process the refund. So which is still going to run beyond.
No,
the
because she
June
said that
1st
it's not
day.
this Saturday, it's next Saturday, right?
June 1st.
No, I'm going to Texas. It's June what? June 3rd? Yeah.
June 1st. I posted it in the chat.
So no, I ain't gonna be here because no, the Friday is June. It's the June 3rd is the Saturday.
No.
Yeah, I wanted to go, but
Oh, Bridget is interrupting our conversation. Okay. Yeah, so June 1st, and I am planning to respond to the client that there's no need to rush to get your returns filed today. First of all, I have to review the returns first. They need to be prepared. I would not be concerned about getting a refund. I feel like these things usually create uncertainties, but I think they know what will happen if people start getting concerned that they're not able to get their refunds on time. Does anybody else have any other perspective on this?
Vera, this is fear mongering. They are 78 years and they have never defaulted on the loans. They're not going to happen. They have the money coming in from our quarterly taxes. There is plenty of money. You just have to stop spending.
Yeah, I agree. Any other?
I wanted to make a comment on both of the two persons who spoke. This is Wes Martin. I think what is being said is reasonable and makes sense, but I cannot understand why the stock market and everything else seem to respond every time there is something saying, oh, there is an agreement is not reached or something. If this has never happened and everybody keeps saying that it's not going to happen, why does the stock market keep jumping, jittering every time some report comes out saying, oh, the conversation is stalled, they haven't reached an agreement? Why the big change in the stock market?
I'm gonna
Because
let
no one
somebody-
trusts Congress to actually do it in time. Congress itself has to vote on it to raise it. And the dysfunction is causing jitters because they just don't seem to think that it's a good idea. I absolutely agree that it should, but Congress has to approve it. It's not something that can just be done.
You brought up a very good point, and that's actually why we are going over like retirement planning and financial planning, the values exercise today. Believe it or not, people spend or respond emotionally when it comes to money. So you may think that, oh, why is it that the stock market is going down or doing whatever it needs to do? Because people respond emotionally. Very few people think rationally when it comes to money. So when they hear that kind of news, they start reacting because there's panic and they don't know where to go. And that's why sound investing, that's part of what we're going to be talking about today. How to make sound investments, making it based off of your values and not necessarily just responding to anything that is out there. So to answer your question, Wes, yes, absolutely. People respond. Even, I don't know if you guys noticed with all the layoffs that have been happening recently, why do you think people are getting laid off? People are not getting laid off because these companies are not making the money or have the money to pay their staff. They're just trying to be like everybody else. They're just trying to respond like everybody else and do everything else. And then, turn around and make it look like, oh, they need to cut back because of the budget. No, most of these companies, whether it was Amazon, there was several of them that you saw the announcements coming through that they're laying all these people off. They did it because one company did it. Now they're doing it. Nobody knows why they're doing it. There's really no need, but people do panic and do respond. People are going to start making calls. Hey, I heard this. You should sell, you should do this. They start putting people under pressure. That's why we are the Wealth Building Plan team. Every one of us here, our goal is that as you get educated about these things, that you're not making emotional decisions, that you take the time to think things through, analyze, make sure that you're taking calculated risk, but we cannot respond emotionally to what is going on out there financially. You can make a lot of mistakes that way. So I'll take one more response on this before we move on. Any other comments, questions about what I shared before we move on? Okay, so I am going to share my screen. So I would like to go ahead and bring up Marcella Milan Williams. Marcella is a behavioral financial advisor and a certified mind and flexibility coach. She's been working with us for the last 15 years. So some of you have already spoken with her, done analysis with her. She handles everything that we have in-house when it comes to financial planning, financial needs analysis, anything that has to do with like your retirement and saving, putting away money for retirement. Marcella handles it. So I have asked her to come on, and I'm so glad that we started with that question, because one of the things that she's going to talk to us today is about the values, how it's important that your finances are aligned with your values, because it's very critical that your finances align with the values that you have. And like we just saw, that people are not making decisions emotionally, that you're responding based on agreed upon principles that work for generating wealth. Okay, I'll just read out her bio. Marcella can easily be described in one word as intentional when it comes to the foundation of legacy building, finance, family, fitness, faith, and her intentionality shines through in her desire to help us create a purpose-filled ecosystem that encourages personal, financial, and spiritual growth through her legacy pre-gaming approach. She combines her passion for personal development and wealth creation as a licensed behavioral financial advisor and the co-founder of the Legacy Builder Group, a holistic coaching and investment firm helping families build wealth with purpose. Welcome, 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 Marcy. Let me look for you to see if I can find you so that I can highlight you. There you are. Spotlight. There
There
she
we go.
is.
And you can hear me fine?
Yes, we can hear you. Okay, everybody
Great,
thumbs
great.
up. Can everybody hear her perfectly?
Let me just- There we go. Okay,
Good.
everyone can
So
hear me?
I am gonna go ahead and turn over the reins to Marcella. We will pause every now and then to maybe every 10, 15 minutes or so. We'll pause to take questions, or you can post your questions in the chat. This is meant to be interactive. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to do one important thing. Let me unhighlight you and bring you back. Sorry.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry about that. Okay. So I forgot to talk about one more person. There is one little person here that I want to ask to say hi to everybody. That is Ure. Ure, are you ready to say hi to the guests today? Can you unmute and share your screen? Sorry.
Hello, I can say hi. My hair just looks a little bit crazy right now. I don't know if y'all want to see that.
All right, so go ahead and say hi to everybody and tell everybody what you've been up to.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ure, short for Urana. Oh, can you guys hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay. Again, my name is Ure, short for Urana. I am Ebera's daughter. Kinda, sorta, not really following in her footsteps. I'm also going into the financial advisory industry, the same industry that Marcella is in. I'm currently 21 years old. Just finished my junior year in college, and I do have my own business that I'm currently trying to register to be a investment advisor. But outside of that, I do invest myself, and I just like to help other people on the side. So last year I bought my first rental property. Woo! Very excited. It's a lot of work. It's very fulfilling that I'm starting on this journey now. And then I also wrote a book about personal finances last summer. Just trying to help people in as many ways as I possibly can to really take control of their wealth and build their lives. So thank you for allowing me to speak. I'll post the book link in the chat. And if you ever want to reach out to me, or you know a young person that would really benefit from this information, I can also put my email in the chat, and then you could connect this.
Real quick, before we let you go, what is the biggest challenge you had with getting your first property? Knowing that mommy was not going to rescue you, I was going to let you do this on your own. What was the challenge that you had, or what did you find the most rewarding in all of it? And what's your cash flow?
I think the hardest part in actually getting the property was actually closing on a contract because I would put contracts in and then it would be like the owner would not respond or they would reject it. So I think I put in about 4 or 5 different contracts for different properties, and then literally at the last minute, like the week before I went back to school, the last one went through, which was really exciting. While owning the property, the biggest difficulty has been making repairs while a tenant is there, which is stressful because I mean, I conceptually knew this, but I didn't realize that when you own a property and you're renting it out to people, you are responsible for their living situation, which is a lot of pressure. But I have been learning a lot from this process and a lot about myself. And every month right now, except for the repairs that I have to make, I am cash flowing about $400.
Good job. I hope that means that you're gonna start paying me back some of that money I used when I gave birth to you up till now. We're gonna have that little conversation because I need my money back. Congratulations, baby girl. Very, very proud of you. So we are gonna go ahead and get started with Marcy. Thank you, Marcy, for letting Ure do her little plug.
Of course, nothing little about that. I love it. So I came in while you were having the conversation about a question. So you were addressing a question. So I missed the question, and based off of the conversation, I definitely want to hear what the question was. So can you let me know, Iberi?
Yeah, so we had a client who emailed today and was insisting that they wanted us to get their tax returns completed today because of the recent news about the US debt limit that was going to start June 1st. And so they were getting concerned that if that limit is, if they're not able to pay their debt by June 1st, that could impact their refund. So, you know, everybody was just chipping in on what they think. Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And then a critical question came out where Wes was asking, well, everybody's saying it's not going to happen, but why does the government keep doing this? And then why is the stock market responding in the way that it's doing if we know it's not going to happen? Which brings on that emotional side of investing. And I was like, yay, I'm able to connect it directly to what you're going to talk about.
Perfect. Most definitely. Definitely. And yeah, the market's going to do what the market's going to do. And we're going to dive into that, the fact that we can't control any of these situations. So that was a great conversation. It is nothing that we can control. What we do have to focus on is what we can control. So Abir, introduced me, and let's pull up, and they mentioned that we've been working together for about 15 years alongside my business partner, Mark Mullen, who some of you probably have had conversations with. He is the registered investment advisor. It really handles the bulk of the comprehensive financial planning that we do with Abir. And as a behavioral financial advisor, I come in with various aspects of the coaching, and especially around our mindset. And one of the things that we start with when working with us is the values assessment, as Abir mentioned, and the importance of that. That's something that she's went through herself. And I know she wanted me to join everyone today to really kind of dive into that a bit and give you an understanding of, well, why. It's so funny. Often people meet with me, and after our meeting, they're like, oh, I'm so pleasantly surprised, or I got way more out of this than I expected. And it's simply because they had no idea what to expect. They're like, what is a values assessment? What does that mean? And if you've ever maybe worked with an executive coach or a life coach or any type of coach, if you've gone through a coaching program, you may have gone through a process where you identified your core values, which is great. If you have not, then you are definitely in the dark. And our values assessment, the purpose is to really help you identify what is your actual purpose for money. We are left in the dark about that. And again, as a behavioral financial advisor, it's my help to navigate that very challenging obstacle. And I'll touch on why that's challenging. But first, I want to just clarify, because a lot of people may be wondering, what on earth is a behavioral financial advisor? And simply put, it's a combination between traditional financial advising, so traditional finance, neuroscience, and psychology. So again, I work with you to help you manage your savings and investment behavior. And that is the part that gets us in trouble, which is why the conversation you had was the perfect segue for this conversation. Our behavior is the thing that really hinders our ability to build the wealth that we desire to generate. there has been countless studies at this point, decades of studies that have shown how much markets matter very little. All the economic changes, economic shifts also matter very little when it comes to building long-term wealth. What does seem to be the factor is the way we respond to market and economic news. And we know this on, I think, on a very basic level. And I describe it as what we know in general, the rules of investment, right? We know the basic rule of investment, and that is buy low, sell. And I want you to put it in the chat. What is the word? You buy low and you sell what? What's the word? And go ahead and type it in the chat. There you go. We know this. If you know nothing else about investing, you know exactly. So you type in high, you know to buy low and sell high. But what do we do? And I want you to think about this. Think about any recent news, any recent information about public companies, whether it's Tesla, Apple, and we can go all the way back to the GameStop fiasco. What do we do when we get news that disrupts our being, disrupts us? We do the opposite. We buy high and we sell low. When the market, when that price is going up, we get excited. We think, we start feeling FOMO, and it's going up, and we go, oh, I got to get in while it's hot. And then the opposite. Oh my goodness, it's tanking. We start to panic. And then we get to a place, I gotta sell, I gotta hurry. We're selling low. This is something I don't have to convince you about. We see it all the time. We see it with our friends, our neighbors, and perhaps even ourselves. So we realize that, wait a minute, I know what I should be doing, but there is something in me, these emotions, and these are all natural emotions that make it difficult for us to actually behave in the way that we know. And that's what we call cognitive dissonance. When we believe something, we know something, but we do something else. And it's a very actually natural emotion. It's our fight or flight. It's the same type of behavior that can get us out of a burning building quickly, and it saves our lives. But again, study and research has showed that the same behavior that can save our life is the same behavior that can put us into serious financial trouble. It works against us financially. So then what do we do? Are you telling me, am I telling you that I am my own worst enemy? But when it comes to finances, very often, yes. And that is why you have a team, a financial team led by Ebere, including myself. This is why you actually create an environment of accountability when it comes to your finances. Because if you really develop the DIY attitude, I can do it myself when it comes to finances. And yes, there's a lot that we can do ourselves. But one thing that is extremely challenging to do ourselves is to monitor and gauge our own emotions and our emotional behavior. So
I have a question, Basil. Thank you so far. This is awesome information. So you said it was a combination of traditional financial analysis, neuroscience, and what?
psychology.
And psychology. Okay.
Yes.
I'm posting that in the chat.
Yeah. Traditional finance, neuroscience, psychology.
Okay. And then, and so that's behavioral, that's what you call behavioral financial
advice. Yep.
So the other question that I had is maybe people can throw out here, when have you found yourself making wrong financial decisions? When have you found yourself making wrong financial decisions? Because if you're able to identify when, then that means you know that you're a candidate or a victim for, you know, falling to prey with what happened with GameStop, with what is happening now with everybody saying, oh, this debt thing. When have you seen that you are most vulnerable when it comes to spending above your means or investing or not following a financial plan? You can either, say it out or put it in the chat. I'll do mine. Mine is when I'm grieving. I tend to lose all emotion because at that time you just need some level of comfort. So for me, grief impacts my finances. And sometimes you want to make emotional decisions and you just want to have that sense of comfort or self-medication. So for me, that's it. For me, grief impacts my financing.
Mhm.
Anybody else? Stress. Yep. When you're
Mhm.
stressed out. Yep. Retail therapy. How many of us are guilty of retail therapy?
Yes.
Anybody else before we move on? Remember, we want this to be interactive because we want this to be helpful
Mhm.
to you. Okay, so
Yes.
we can move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About various versions of fear. Maybe if, okay, I see impatience. I want to address that. FOMO, impatience, FOMO, fear. Yep. Fear. Sometimes you look and maybe your investment account isn't the number that you're comfortable with. That not seeing where you want, feeling like you are not going to be where you want to be when you're ready to retire, feeling like you are off track financially. There's so many ways, and you talked about grief, which is a great, Abir, because I always say that I used to say two, but I really think three situations in life that really get us when it comes to emotions. And that is funerals, weddings, and divorce. And I touch on that when it comes to it impacts our emotional intelligence, because what it does is it deals with our ability in those areas. You have to make a lot of financial decisions and you're dealing with extreme emotions. So it is very difficult to really make financially intelligent decisions when you are in a heightened emotional state. And in those three examples are heightened emotional states, and also involves serious financial decisions. So, and someone has a question there, and I'll get back onto, I'm going to elaborate on what financial intelligence is, but let's see what that question is, Abir.
Yeah, what if you only make analytical, solid financial decisions with no emotions? How do you improve upon that?
That's a great question. If you are AI or a robot, but we are humans. And it's very easy to think that we only make analytical decisions. But that is a part of our biases. You say with no emotions. It is almost impossible to make decisions with no emotions. Now, emotions can be different and look different for everyone, but we all have biases. And that's why it's so easy to think that, oh, I'm not exhibiting any emotions, so you're not behaving in a way where it looks like you're being emotional. Again, everyone is different and operates differently. But as long as we are human, our brain is processing information in a way that hits our amygdala, which is the emotional center of our brain. And our response is determined by our biases, by our programming. So there are over 177 biases that we know of. And when it comes to investing in money, there are particular biases, sorry, I got a blank in one of the words I was trying to use, but there are various biases that we are susceptible to. And again, it ties into our programming. So yes, we can always find ways to improve. And I think understanding our values will be a way that we can improve our decision-making process. But the first way we can help improve it is by understanding that you are making a decision based off a bias that you are programmed with. And it's only when you accept that, look at that as yourself as a human, capable of maybe learning and growing and improving, then that you can do so. That's how you can actually improve.
Yeah, so one of the things I'm thinking of as we're looking at Eric's question is, I think most people have heard this where it talks about, two men that grew up, same dad. One is an alcoholic, one is a pastor. And the question is asked, why did you become an alcoholic? And the alcoholic says, because of my dad. And then the other person is the pastor, why did you become an alcoholic? Why did you become a pastor? Because of my dad. And so it's like two different responses, but at the root of it is that. So sometimes I think that while we may feel that we're not exhibiting any emotions, you could actually have the emotion suppressed somewhere down there. And so you feel like you're just making surface level emotions and not getting deep. And if it says invest, you invest. If it says do this, you do this. But the root cause could also be fear, where you want to follow things by the books and not necessarily know that sometimes it's okay to be a little bit flexible. So that lack of flexibility may look a little bit stoic, a little bit emotionless, but when you like Marcy was saying, when you drill down, you actually find out that there's an emotion that's causing that rigid, unflexible approach to finances, which could also impact your relationships.
Yeah, well said, Abel. That's good. So let's get into the values. And before I do, I mentioned about emotional and financial intelligence. And I want to clarify what that is, because so often we can hear that term. And I don't know if we hear it a lot, but from even hearing me say it, your mind might automatically go to, well, it's like financial literacy. It's understanding how money works, understanding the markets, knowing certain aspects of finances. But that is not what I'm talking about. Again, that leans more into financial literacy. Financial intelligence leans more onto like emotional intelligence. So financial intelligence is specifically the ability to make smart, responsible, value-based decisions with and about money in the face of difficult to deal with and emotional decisions. So it's difficult to deal with. And so I said emotional, but I meant competing emotions. So it is the ability to make smart. I don't know if you want to put that in the chat. There's it's a handful, it's a mouthful there, but smart, responsible, value-based decision with and about money in the face of difficult to deal with and competing emotions. And going back to what Abir, the question she asked you, we've all experienced that in some way. I gave you the examples of the extreme cases, those difficult to deal with and competing emotions. For those who feel it, maybe planning a wedding, again, dealing with the loss of a loved one, dealing with a divorce, a lot of decisions. You have to make smart and responsible decisions while you're dealing with emotions. But again, we all deal with these in various ways. And really what I found is the best way to be able to make smart, responsible, value-based decisions is if you understand what your values are. That's the key to this statement. It's the value-based decisions. And it goes back to where I start with what I started with, and that is why we do this. So you can understand what is your purpose for money. One of the biggest maybe illusions, one of the issues that we have, I think, as a society is that we've learned to chase money. We've learned to chase after money, and we've created a world in which money is the goal. Well, money is what we are desiring. We're looking to have that certain amount of money, that dollar amount, when we're ready to do whatever it is to do, retire. Some people don't even use the word retire anymore, but we're looking for that number that says, okay, I am okay. And if we are only looking at money, then we're selling ourselves short. Money is the most powerful tool that we have on this earth. Everyone needs it. Everyone has to use it. It's the thing that gets us the things that we actually need and want and that we desire. It brings us joy. However, if you are not clear on what you actually want that money for, there will be something missing and you will leave yourself exposed to making these emotional decisions. If you really look at a lot of the, and I know I made a big statement there, and Bear, again, just let me know if you need to pause for anything or want to jump in, just go ahead with that. But as we talk about making value-based decisions and identifying your values, it is about living in financial alignment. Living in alignment. We hear these terms, we hear throughout the wellness community, you know, you got to live in alignment. It sounds very Zen. But it's really more than that, because it at the core of us, and that's why I call it core values, for the core of each of us, we are desiring something greater. We're desiring purpose, and we desire to know it and understand it within each of us, because we were all created for a purpose. And if we are not clear on that, that is where the struggle really is. And when you see people who are frustrated when financial decisions are made, if you've ever experienced, and you let me know if you've ever experienced anything from shame, guilt, or regret after making a financial decision, then that is because you made a decision that was against one of your values. Whether you know it or not, you don't need to know your values. You don't even need to know values exist to experience the feelings that you get from going against them. And when you receive joy, peace, when you make decisions, a financial decision, then that is because you made a decision that allowed you to be in alignment with your values. And this is why it's important to be able to identify your values so that you can be in alignment.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, because a lot of times I see when I'm talking to people, or, you know, most of us, the reason why you're in the wealth building program is because you are somehow involved in real estate. You have some kind of relationship with real estate. That's how you primarily came to me. I cannot tell you, over the last 18 years of doing this business, our business is very high pressure. Our industry is very high pressure, right? It's very high pressure because you have a lot of people standing in front of the room telling you that you can quit your job tomorrow, go and fire your boss, and you can make a lot of money in real estate. Or they tell you, oh, you have to sign up for this program, this $20,000 program. And now they start showing you all these checks and all these testimonials of people who have made money, and somehow you buy it and you either spend all that money, right? Or you end up finding yourself that you're still making emotional decisions when it comes to real estate. I would tell you that maybe only about 20 to 25% of people achieve their real estate goals, because the other 80% are making emotional decisions when it comes to real estate. But real estate does work. Long-term wealth building is fundamentally gained through real estate and the stock market. But a lot of people miss it because they're making emotional decisions, because somebody stood in front of the room and is selling you a program that makes you believe that, oh, after taking this program for 3 months, you're going to become rich. Or you buy this property, or you join their syndication, or you do a joint venture with them. And at the end of the day, a lot of people lose their shirt. You know, only about 20% of people actually move on to now having real estate help them build long-term wealth. I've seen a lot more people make mistakes because emotionally they'll spend $80,000 on education or a training program where you're made all these promises, but you learn real estate by doing it. And, you know, like my daughter said, like she's learning, there's a lot of things that you learn on the job, and it's not built in a day. But sometimes a lot of things that you hear, and, you know, because we join various real estate clubs, go to real estate conferences, we're part of a lot of groups, and you hear these things and you hear people sharing testimony. Sometimes they're not giving you all the facts, they're just sharing with you all the glory. They're not sharing with you all the gory behind it. You end up realizing that you're making emotional decisions, but I want you to build wealth. I want you to build wealth through real estate. I know it works. We have clients who have stayed the course and are building wealth. That's why we're bringing all this information to you. I know we're about to wrap up. We have about 11 more minutes. If you have questions, please feel free to post it in the chat. And Marcy, you can go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, like, can you read what Eric has there?
Yeah, Eric said, for us, financial freedom and free time to help God with his work is the goal. Money is only a tool, part of stable cash flow. The vehicle gets there. Yes, same as me.
Yes.
My goal is to be financially free so that I can actually go out and feel free to fulfill my destiny. And my destiny is working with young adults and helping them to make right life decisions. And I will not be where I am today in terms of being able to further that ministry if I did not make sound financial decisions. And a lot of thanks to Marcy them coming up with a systematic way of getting it done. So
It's good. As you were talking there, Bear, I was thinking of a colleague and client of ours who, again, as you were talking about real estate here, and as she was sharing her experience, she originally, had tenants, had real estate. I think it was in Philadelphia, and she had tenants. And the first time she had to evict tenants was when she realized that it was not in alignment with her values. And she had to make a decision, and she eventually decided to, at this point, obviously it was a journey, but at this point, her focus is commercial real estate, because this is where she finds more peace. Putting people out of the home was not for her, having to deal with that in any aspect. She had to make a shift. And honestly, just listening and going deeper into her values just allowed her to make a decision and find the opportunity. It actually opened her up to the opportunity that could actually generate her, in her case, everyone's different, but her case, what aligned with her values, and now increasing her business. Because when you become crystal clear, and we know this, when you become clear on what you want, that means you are focused. We all know what we can accomplish when we're focused. We can do so much more when we're focused, and distractions don't get in the way. And this is how I look at when we're able to really identify our core values. They are like guardrails, or they're like, and I used the example of my street. I live like in the woods, farm, lots of land around me. And on my road, there's no middle lane. So people, I'll come driving down the road, and sometimes people on the wrong side of the road, or they're clearly in the middle of the road. And I'm, obviously focused. I'm like, get on your side of the road. Come on, people. Because we really struggle when there's no clear line, when there's no clear direction and guidance. We lean and we falter, and we simply need a clear direction that says, stay in the lines, and we'll get to where we need to be. And our core values operate as the guardrail, the lines, the thing that keeps us on the path to where we want to go. And as I go through the process of helping people identify their core values, what is discovered out of it are the actual tools that will help you become so crystal clear on what you want that when it shows up, when opportunities come, or when distractions come, again, like what Abir says in these these programs, and you're just getting excited. But when those programs come again, when people come with what could be an opportunity, you are able to clearly see, oh, no, this is a distraction and this is an opportunity. Yes and no becomes far more easier to differentiate between when you understand what your purpose for money is and you are crystal clear on what you want. And deciding, being able to answer the question, what do I want, is one of the most challenging questions that we can ask ourselves with absolute honesty. We struggle with that one. And that is because, again, it's a part of our programming. It's a part of our society. From the time we were in elementary school, we were not raised, we were not programmed to truly identify what we want. So values, again, is about living in financial alignment. It's becoming crystal clear on what you want, what is your purpose, and how you are actually want to live out this life and leave your legacy. How do you want, it's what I define legacy as. Legacy is how other people will experience your existence. And understanding your core values will help you to identify how you want others to experience your existence. And then your wealth building behavior will wrap around that.
I like what Jim said. Oh my gosh, my biggest challenge is that I want to do everything. Don't we all?
So true, Jim. So true, James.
So what I want to encourage you guys is the next steps. Where do we go from here? I want to encourage everybody here to take the time to go through the core value exercise with Marcella. That's something that we're offering complimentary to all wealth building plan clients. If you are in the wealth building program, you can schedule a meeting with Marcella to go over the core values exercise so that you can come up with your core values. We will ask that prior to scheduling your meeting, if you want, send an email and say, hey, could you send me the value exercise list? Because from that list, we want you to pick your top 15. After you've picked your top 15 goals, then you can schedule the meeting with Marcella, because the goal would be to narrow it down to 5. So we have a few minutes left. If you want to stay after 4, that's fine. What I'm going to do now I want to open it up for questions, but I want real quick to read out my core values, the 15 and then the 5, and then we will open it up for questions until we're ready to go. So my top 15 core values were 1, community, decisiveness, excellence, fairness, family, friendship, honesty, safety, spirituality, interdependence, enjoyment, very important, enjoyment, philanthropy and charity, meaningful work, privacy, and relationship. So those were the 15. I think there's a list here of about 40, 50 that you go through and narrow it down. I narrowed mine down to 15. And then my final 5 were spirituality, because my core value is to relate with God and man through Jesus Christ. Interdependent community. I love being autonomous and dependent. Autonomous means that I am free to make decisions that are in my best interest, but I'm still dependent on a community. It's not forced, it's not coerced. I'm not codependent. I am interdependent, but in the midst of community. Enjoyment, I love to set out time to enjoy the world and creation. Decisiveness, quick to take a position. I don't like being wishy-washy. Honesty, I love to be true to myself, to others, in my thoughts, words, and deeds. So those are the 5 core values, and I've started seeing how it plays out. Now, let me tell you guys an amazing thing that happened. After I went through this core value exercise with Marcy, I actually went back and found the personal vision that I wrote down, I think about 10, 12 years ago. And it was amazing how the vision that I wrote down really incorporated these 5 core values. And so like Marcy said, whether or not you know it, you feel guilty or you feel joy without even knowing what those core values are. But identifying it helps it to now to come to the forefront as you're making decisions. So the personal vision that I wrote is to achieve spiritual harmony by ensuring that as circumstances of my life unfold, my thoughts, words, and deeds remain pleasant to God, to myself, and to those around me. It means accomplishing my tasks and dreams in a manner that make life better for as many as possible, including oneself and up to and including forgetting my own needs for a while in order to focus on the needs of others. Isn't that amazing? Ties exactly with the core values that I came up with. I was happy when I went through this exercise. So I'm encouraging you all, if you want to go through it, you can send out an email or respond to a text and ask us to send you the core value exercise. You do your first 15, then you can schedule a meeting with Marcy. It's complimentary on the house because it's part of your wealth building program. So we can take questions now until we end. Marcy, thank you so much for coming. I know we cannot exhaust this topic in just one session, but I wanted everybody to know that it's important that we all take the time to come up with our core values. So does anybody, do you have any response to Jim where you feel like you want to do everything? And then if you have questions, feel free to post it in the chat, or you can speak up after, and we'll keep answering questions till we're done.
So you said, yeah, Jim, you wanted me to touch on what Jim said?
Yeah. His biggest challenge is that he wants to do everything.
Yeah, you definitely, we need to get together for core values, 100%. Let's narrow down and get focused on that one. Trust me, I understand. I think I was the same way before I really got crystal clear on who, what I wanted, and really started living in alignment with my core values. So I'm with you. Let's get you narrowed down, Jim.
All right, any other questions or comments as we try to wrap up? What are you hearing? Do you like what you're hearing? Jim, do you want us to go ahead and reach out to you? Okay, I think that's
Yes,
what you
please reach out to Jim.
All right, any other questions, comments as we get ready to wind down here? Any comments?
Yeah.
Any observations? What have you learned
Yeah.
to take away?
Maybe share an experience where all of this kind of, you've experienced some of the things I shared.
Yeah, I have a question. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, let's say if a client's working with you and you have your stock market investments and you have your alternative investments, how do you help clients keep discipline between, because the problem with alternatives sometimes is managing the cash flow or managing the profit. How do you work with clients to help with that process?
That's a good question, Gary. Thank you for asking that. And it is really about putting yourself in the environment, because again, we are a product of our environment that we're in. So what we do once we develop the values, it's not like, okay, great, you have your values, that was fun, and we move on. We actually use the values to get as your accountability tool to build and help you get to where you want to be. So it is your source for accountability, and it is a reminder. So once you have the values, we need to understand, you need to actually have an understanding, clarity, which you will, on why these are your values. And once you have that clarity, then you will start noticing, okay, how am I feeling? Paying attention to when it comes to your decisions around these investments. And those values will be a reminder. It's not one and done. It's visual and it's mental. So I'm talking about your brain, the way your brain actually works. So and like you said, with the alternative investing, it's about the emotional and triggers. It's about what you're hearing. You are listening. You are probably tuned into various podcasts, whatever it is that you are allowing to come into your system is what is determining a lot of the decisions that we make. So in order for you to really stay on track and determine why you're actually investing in the first place, you have to get to the bottom of that. So that's really the purpose of the values, is to help you to move those emotions and get clarity on those emotions, and then make the proper decisions. Honestly, you're shifting it from one part of the brain to another, and that's a whole different conversation, but you're actually shifting the chemicals, the neurons from one part of the brain to the other. And you do that by having the clarity through the values to be able to do that. So it's the question is a great question, but I don't know if I can answer it in one session, but it is about making it's about making a shift in your behavior in order to really get to the actual purpose of the investments in the first place.
Yeah, and if I can jump in there, Gary, that's one of the reasons why we suggest having your annual business meeting, because during the annual business meeting, that's the main thing that we want to discuss to make sure that everything that you're doing is in alignment. Now, we're not going to adults parent themselves, so we're not going to tell you, oh, you should not be investing in oil and gas, or you shouldn't get into crypto, or you shouldn't, do a syndication, or you shouldn't do real estate. But if you give us a chance to design your investing, then we will help you to see how all the investments that you're making, whether or not it's going to get you to your ultimate goal, right? So that's one of the reasons why we work with Marcella, because there's very few financial planners who kind of follow our model. Our model is, we don't want you shoving down clients' throats what they should invest in, because most of my clients have real estate and then they have other things. What we want is that we analyze where they are, tell us where their red line is going to be. In other words, where are you at a danger zone? And then let's now bring together all of these investments, whether it's the traditional one, whether it's real estate, whether it's the alternative one, how all of these come together to help you meet your financial goals. So that's something that we would love to have an opportunity to do. Although some people in the wealth building program don't see us as their one-stop shop. Like, they'll come to us for taxes, planning, entity structuring, bookkeeping, but then they have another financial planner that they're using. But if that financial planner, their goals are not aligned with ours, or you say, hey, I can do this investment myself, well, I'm not going to stop you. You can do that as long as you're meeting your goals. But if you feel, hey, I really do want a situation where I'm fully taking advantage of everything that I signed up for, which is us looking at every single thing you own together and seeing how it aligns with your values and your goals, and helping you to restructure and design it in such a way where it gets you to your final goal. We would love, because that's the ultimate thing that I want to do. I want to work with clients who we know everything that's going on, whether it's taxes, your finances, your real estate, your gold, your crypto, everything that's going on with you, and able to design it in such a way where it brings you the greatest return on investment and greatest joy to be able to actually fulfill your dreams. So I'm glad Jane said the annual meeting is this Thursday. It's only for those who have registered. We sent the link. I'm going to go ahead and put it here. You do have an opportunity to schedule your annual meeting. And so we will include on there, you will let us know the days and times that you're available. Then we'll let you know whether or not you're able to have that meeting or not. So for those that are this Thursday would be those who have already registered and we've scheduled. So I'm doing it every Thursday from now until the end of August. So you can fill out this link to let us know when you want it, and we will continue to have this meeting. Now, you don't need to wait for this meeting to have your meeting with Marcella. Once you get through your top 15 values, you are ready to have your meeting with Marcella, and then we can incorporate that. Thank you, Sandra. This is noted. All right, I am going to go ahead and stop the recording. Marcella, any final words before we do that?
Just that I look forward to meeting with those who will be reaching out and just helping you get closer to reaching your wealth building goals.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much for being on the call. So let me stop the